Welcome back, Multi Battle Conference. We're here with one of our final interviews, or I guess perhaps our actual final interview.
Yeah.
We have Allan and Hector of the SoCal Cheek Drillers. Go ahead and say hi, guys.
Hey, what's up, guys?
What's going on, yo?
They are another one of our veteran teams making their return. They're formerly known as LA New Wave. They are back with a third team member and a new name. So we're gonna go ahead and go through their list of 10 real quick, and then we'll throw it to them to tell us about this team. So they had the second overall pick very early. They actually went with an A tier first in Gmax Blastoise, followed by another set of three A tiers in Arcanine, Duraludon, and Rotom-Mow. Dipping into the B tiers, they went with the Mimikyu, the Johto, Slowking, Mandibuzz, Sirfetch'd, and finished off the draft with Armaldo and Exploud, a couple of C tiers down there. So go ahead and tell us about this team, guys.
Yeah, so we decided to build around Blastoise this time around. I saw that Blastoise's Gmax form is in A tier as well as regular Blastoise, and I saw that Blastoise did many great things last season. So we figured that uh, uh, drafting Blastoise would be really valuable since it can double up as a support mon, as a straight out attacker, and just has a variety of different things that it can do as well. And we decided to pair it with just some solid old mons overall, like Rotom-Mow, has the nasty plots set up. We have Duraludon there as well, and just other little tricks that we can run as well.
I think last season we were also trying to head towards the D-Max Blastoise, and that got taken before we could get to it. But it's something we definitely would have gone if it was still available last season. So I think we need to take advantage of our position in the early draft and try to get it as soon as we can.
It was a really interesting first pick. We'll go ahead and talk about that in a moment here. Or right now. We're gonna go into your grades real quick. So on the drafting grade, we gave you guys a B plus. Going back to that first pick, you guys were talking about the Gmax Blastoise. At first, I thought it was a little bit strange to go straight for A tier when you guys were second in the draft. I still there's some pros and cons to that. But going for going for the mon that you did in the Gmax Blastoise turned out to be a better idea than I think we had thought. Even though it seemed a little weird to go for an A tier. If you're gonna go for an A tier that early, that's probably one of the ones to go for. Especially because the other Blastoise got taken also in the first round, and we know that you guys sniped the Potatoes, who also wanted the Gmax Blastoise, which they were planning on picking the first round. So that was kind of crazy. Turned out to be a good choice in that respect. The the reason I think it's a little bit weird to go for an A tier when you're that high on the list when you have that second pick is more because the you still have access to a ton of those really top level S tiers, like the ones we talked about, like that for some reason got taken in the middle of the draft, like the Glastrier and the Finny and the Togekiss, and in our eyes the Mew as well. Although that was, we had third pick, we got that very early. But this draft structure is something that we went with something very similar last season, mostly because we were at the end of the draft and all those top tier S tiers got taken already. So it's a little interesting to see this kind of draft structure come out of the team with the second overall pick. I don't necessarily think it's a bad thing, especially since Blastoise was very sought after. But it's definitely unexpected in my eyes anyway. Second pick, you guys went with Arcanine, which I think was good that you had a fire type to pair with the Blastoise there. I think maybe I probably would have gone for something a little bit more offensive to really take advantage of the support that Blastoise offers. But I do like the fire type there. Duraludon and Rotom are really good for rounding out your block of A tiers up there. I do like the Rotom with these other two. It has it's the only A tier up here that has setup capabilities next to the Blastoise. Um, the Duraludon and Arcanine don't really have much of a way to boost while you have that Follow Me on the field. So I like the Rotom for that. I like the Rotom providing you with an electric type to go with your Fire Water Grass Core. Um, I do like dipping immediately into the Trick Room mode after that as well. And the Mimikyu as your first B tier pick, I think is incredibly solid. It's a very good Pokemon. It's one of those mons that kind of teeters between two tiers. It was A tier last time, so I think that's a good indicator that it's gonna be high value for its tier. So I think it was good to pick that up, followed by something that was also able to set up Trick Room, but is also a lot slower because Mimikyu is decently reliable at getting Trick Room up, being immune to Fake Out, and also having that disguise ability. It's just a little bit awkward trying to function in Trick Room because it's quite a bit faster. In fact, it's the fastest Pokemon on this draft. Going for a solid bulky Tailwind user after that is pretty good, and then I like the Surfetched after that. Its speed is in kind of an awkward range, but it can help your Trick Room mode against teams that are not quite as slow. It can give you more of a hard hitter in Trick Room. Whereas the Mimikyu and the Slowking are, they can put out decent damage, but their offensive stats are a little more mediocre. The Surfetched, while it's not quite as slow as something like the Slowking, it's going to be able to put out a lot more damage in Trick Room, and even out of Trick Room, because it does have a workable speed stat for either one. It's just not super great at going really fast or really slow. The Armaldo and Exploud are ones that we thought were maybe okay. They filled out a couple more types that you didn't already have. We wondered what kind of their role was on this team though, and we sort of thought maybe there were some higher value stuff in C tier, but at the same time it's um, C tier is I've said this a bunch of times. You kind of have to look through the trash in order to find the stuff that's actually valuable in there, and it can be hard to do that sometimes, especially when you're picking them in rounds 9 and 10. So maybe there were some better things you could have gotten there, maybe not. We're at least this covers some more types that you didn't have early on in the draft. I think one of the only things I can think of right now that might be good in one of those C tier slots is an extra redirector. You have some of those not fully evolved ones down there still, like a Pichu or a Fungus or something that I think would have been good for the Blastoise to help it be a little bit more versatile instead of pigeonholing it into a support redirection kind of role every time. But yeah, overall, we think you did pretty well in the draft, so we gave you a B+ there.
For synergy, we gave you an A-, your highest grade on this draft. It's kind of obvious why if you look at it just right from the top. You got a Fire Water Grass Core and topped it off with what Matt likes to call like the frosting on the cake, just a good fourth type in the electric typing with your grass type. Then you also have like the Fairy Steel Dragon Core, albeit not really super defined on the Steel or Dragon type because Duraludon acts as both. But overall, Duraludon's a great Pokemon just in general, a solid backbone to any type of team that you want. Mimikyu in general as well can do lots of different things. I think people really sleep on the versatility that Mimikyu has just in general. People kind of see it as just like a Trick Room Pokemon or maybe like a Sword Sand Sweeper. But it gets stuff like Will-O-Wisp, it gets Screens, it gets Destiny Bond. There's a few things that it could do to really help a team out, and it's got a good speed stat, 96 base speed. Getting a fast Will-O-Wisp off to kind of help mitigate the damage from some of your other Pokemon that are a little bit slower, like the Duraludon, and being able to keep the Arcanine offensive, because obviously sometimes there's going to be times where maybe you want to go with like a Flare Blitz, Close Combat, Extreme Speed set with Protect, but you also want to be able to neuter the physical attackers a little bit. You got Mimikyu there, you could throw some fast Will-O-Wisp off, and it kind of doesn't pigeonhole Arcanine into doing all the uh, supportive things that Arcanine typically likes to do. Um, I think your guys' Trick Room mode is up there with one of the better ones in the league. Going with two really good Trick Room users in Mimikyu and Slowking, I think just in general is going to give you a really solid way to consistently get Trick Room up. Uh, when you have stuff like, obviously the Surfetch is going to be something that's really threatening, even the Armaldo. But I think one of the things that is underestimated a little bit is how effective stuff like Duraludon can also be in Trick Room, or even, well, mainly like Duraludon, because stuff can easily outspeed it, and a lot of the times people will almost EV their Pokemon to outspeed you, and you could almost preempt that by setting up Trick Room, making it a little bit bulkier, throwing on an Assault Vest, not really worrying about speed at all, and now you're underspeeding everything. Because in general, this is a very slow team, so a lot of teams, the first thing they're going to try and do is just try and outspeed you right from the get-go. One of the other things they're going to try and do is stop Trick Room from going up, obviously. But I think with Mimikyu and with the Slowking, you have such consistent ways to get it up. When you pair that with something like Blastoise, that you should really be all right to get it up as much as you need to get it up. So I do really like the synergy on this team, mainly because of the top of the draft with the Fire, Water, Grass core. I think is very good. The middle of the draft too addresses your Trick Room mode, which I think Trick Room can be very, very strong, especially like in the mid to late game. And with this type of draft, you can bring your front four A tiers to kind of wipe down the front line, and then that makes a mid to late game Trick Room that much more devastating, especially with the Pokemon like Surfetched, where it's a little bit higher in the base speed. So if you can kind of get rid of the stuff that's going to be supporting some of their slower things, Surfetch can take a couple of hits and really hit them back if you save your Dynamax for it or anything like that. So overall, I think this draft was very well constructed as far as like synergy is concerned, and how well these Pokemon are going to pair well with each other. And I think it's something that needs to be watched out for, because you have a lot of things that can happen. I think Matt's kind of hit on it already. Would like to see another redirector, just so the Blastoise doesn't every single week have to be the follow me user. If you can have somebody else do that, or another Pokemon do that, and free Blastoise up to do other things, doesn't you can even have it two redirectors if you want. But if you need a Shell Smash Pokemon and you also need a redirector, you have the ability to do that. So I think that would be probably one of the things that takes it over the top in the synergy. Otherwise, a very, very synergistic draft.
Threat level, we dropped you down to a B. This is the one that we dinged you the hardest on. There definitely is some stuff on here that can be pretty threatening. The thing is, we just noticed there's not really anything here that sticks out as something that is particularly annoying and disruptive that you have to really respect. There's nothing here that's gonna immediately hit the field and just outspeed and blow things up, especially because this is a much slower team. The Arcanine and the Blastoise and the Rotom, it's much more of a defensive kind of Fire, Water, Grass core. The Duraludon can be good as something that just hits the field and blows things up, especially because it ignores opposing redirection. So it's a little bit more threatening doing that. Unfortunately, it doesn't have a way to boost up offensively. Rotom Mow is a little bit more threatening in that it can set up a nasty plot, and it can be really bulky or decently fast depending on what kind of speed control you have. There's and it's stuff like that, and stuff like a Swords Dance Mimikyu. Those can be a lot more threatening when you have that redirection next to it in the Blastoise. But yeah, I think some of the issue here is that there's not a lot of stuff that's really disruptive that's gonna be a hard stop to what your opponents are gonna want to do. Not something like a Liepard or a Sableye that can just throw a wrench in your opponent's plans, or like something like a Porygon Z that can just hit the field, Dynamax, and blow things up really well. You don't really have anything like those. And the offensive threats that you do have seem to sort of rely on setup as well to really get the ball rolling. it's I can sort of see this team potentially having the same sort of the same problem that the New England Patriots had last season, although less. I think it's less of a problem here than it was with them, and that is that they didn't really have the offense to really justify one of those big redirectors sitting on the field for a couple of turns. Usually, you want something that can just blow things up immediately, or has a really good setup option to justify protecting it with that follow me. And if you don't have the offense coming out from the other slot next to this Blastoise, sometimes using it as that redirector might not be worth it. So I don't think that's as big of a problem here as it was with the Patriots, but I can see that potentially being an issue.
Next, we have your guys' versatility grade. We gave that a B plus. Overall, we like a lot of the things that this team can do. So many things here, just in general. There's a lot of different sets. I really think that people should look at some of these sets when they, particularly in the top area when we look at versatility. Blastoise has the ability to obviously go for a shell smash, follow me, supportive set, offensive set, all that stuff. Can even go physical. We've ran, physical Blastoise once, mixed actually. Duraludon's a little bit more, linear in its usage. But even Rotom with the access to Will-O-Wisp, access to Nasty Plot, can really change up its set week to week and make it really devastating. Mimikyu, as I kind of talked about before, has the ability to go from like an offensive Swords Dance set to a Trick Room user to like a supportive set that, kind of does Destiny Bond stuff and mitigates damage with Will-O-Wisp. Slowking, Matt and I use Slowking a lot. Has the ability to also go for Nasty Plot, has really good coverage. Obviously, is probably going to be used a little bit more as a Trick Room user, but still has a good amount of versatility. Mandibuzz, it has a good move pool. It more or less wants to do the same things as it usually does. Set up Tailwind, have a taunt, has Overcoat to kind of keep it safe from like sleep move or powder type moves like Sleep or Spore, and also like stuff like Sand and Hail and all those. But honestly, I really like the versatility that you more or less have at the very top of the draft here. I think it's going to help you a lot when your top Pokemon are extremely versatile. Matt and I kind of went through that a little bit last season, where we had stuff like Blastoise, like Volcarona, like Grimmsnarl, like Duraludon, two of those Pokemon on your team now. And the amount of versatility that we could pull out of them on a week-to-week basis was just... Honestly, it seemed endless a lot of the times when we were going through their move pool. We could always pull out a move that it seemed like we needed at any given time. I mean, we ran Stomping Tantrum Duraludon to handle Magnezone. You can always find something on these on certain Pokemon like this. Arcanine, Rotom, Mo, Blastoise. So I give you guys a lot of credit. I think probably one of your more stronger parts of the draft, besides the synergy, is the amount of versatility that you'll have in these. I would guess just from knowing you guys and seeing how this team is built and seeing how you guys played when it was Hector and Allan on Terry's Abs 2 seasons ago, I would guess that Trick Room is probably your guys' main MO. But I honestly don't even think that it matters too much if they know that or not, because you have such consistent ways to get it up as long as you prep properly. So honestly, big kudos to be able to have something that has a decent Trick Room mode, but also pull off a lot of versatility in the top of the draft. So we gave you guys a B+. And overall, that rounded out your grade to a B+. We're recording this after we did the power rankings video. We had a lot of B+ on our power rankings, and just in general. I think that has a lot to do with the fact that so many of our teams now are so competent in their draft abilities, and I think you guys showed that this year as well. I think, now kind of analyzing all the B+, I think all these B+ teams and above have a good chance of making the playoffs and making a deep run, including you guys. So kudos to this draft. I think you guys did a good job. Second overall pick. We're able to get some deep versatility out of the draft, so good job. You want to go into pros?
Yeah, moving into the pros and cons here, we're kind of up against the clock, so let's
Yeah.
just blow through these real quick. You got all three of our major type cores even before you drafted your C tiers, which we thought was pretty impressive. The only part of that seems a little bit lackluster to me, I think, is the Mandibuzz not being able to put out consistent offense. It's basically just relying on foul play for its damage, which is only consistent if you're guaranteed to be hitting against physical attackers, but you never there's going to be plenty of things that you want to hit with foul play that are not going to take that much damage with a minus attack nature, 0 attack IV, all that. But I'm thinking it might not be a huge deal because the Surfetched is also there to hit ghost types with Scrappy, so you're not just limited to that with this the Fighting Dark and Psychic core with the Slowking, Mandibuzz, and Surfetched. Overall, we like your type cores. You have one of the best and most valued redirectors in the whole format. It's Blastoise was our MVP last season. It's fantastic for a lot of reasons, and it was clearly very sought after during the draft. You guys have a really balanced point allocation, very similar to what we had last season. It's really just makes your opponents prep for your entire roster of 10 Mons instead of just going, oh, look at those 2 E tiers down there. Don't need to worry about that. We're only prepping for a team of 8 or something like that. And then, again, you guys have a decent Trick Room mode. I wouldn't say a super powerful or offensive Trick Room mode, or at least with the offense, I would say it's decent rather than powerful, mostly because you don't have a Pokemon that has that really slow speed stat combined with a big offensive stat. You kind of have Slowking with the base 30 here, only base 100 on the special attack, which is good, but not it's not the kind of stat that's going to be blowing things up. And then you have the Surfetched with 135, which is much more closer to what we want to see there, but then it has that awkward 65 base speed stat. Mostly what we like about your Trick Room mode is how reliable you guys will be in setting it up. Between the Mimikyu with the Ghost typing and the Disguise is really nice, and then the Slowking with that built-in Mental Herb, just immune to Taunt with the ability alone. You guys are definitely going to have an easy time setting it up when you want to.
Yeah, consistency is going to be the key on that right there. You're not going to get too much out of your Trick Room mode, but it's rarely going to underserve you, so good job for that. For the cons, threats often require setup. We kind of hit on this earlier. Very few things that are just going to hit the field and start blowing stuff up. You're going to need some type of help a lot of the times, whether that be Shell Smash Blastoise, getting the Duraludon to have Life Orb with some good chip damage behind it, like whether that be like Arcanine chipping stuff down and blowing it up, Rotom being able to get Nasty Plot up. But obviously your entire Trick Room mode is going to need some help, at least getting Trick Room up. So while we do think that you guys do have some threats, they're going to require a little bit of setup. Not necessarily a bad thing. I've told this to people before. Matt and I had to deal with this last season, and it worked out for us fine. It's just going to require immaculate prep. The next thing is your defensive synergy may come at the cost of offense. Kind of like what Matt hit on, a lot of these Pokemon work so well with each other defensively, but they're not really going to hit the field and just start mowing stuff down. No pun intended for the Rotom mow there. But, you're going to really need to support these Pokemon properly, get them into the proper position, have the proper move set on them with the right item, and then that will allow you to really put out the offense that you need. So that may come at a cost if you're not able to do that effectively. You'll have a lot of games where you're just kind of like going into things and you're barely missing out on KOs because the stats just aren't there. The next one is without extra redirection, you may be forced to bring Blastoise as your primary redirector more than you want. You guys got the G-Max Blastoise. I think that was a fantastic pick first overall because it was an S tier last season. And it is a substantial amount better than the regular Blastoise because of that G-Max Cannonade. But because of the fact that it's your only redirector, we fear for those times where you're going, oh man, G-Max Blastoise looks so good here. It would be so great to get a Shell Smash up, but we also need redirection for the rest of our Pokemon here. So by taking some of the burden off of that, off of the Blastoise, I think it would give you a lot more versatility overall. Because you don't want such a high tier Pokemon. Obviously, you guys got with the second overall pick. You don't want that Pokemon to be pigeonholed into just having one role on your team. And then the last one is, in our opinion, underwhelming C tier picks. We had a few C tier picks last season. We thought that we used them, or actually we had B and a D, right?
Mhm.
Uh, Point being is we really think that these last two slots shouldn't just be thrown out just because you guys had the points, especially considering how much you guys spent at the top of your draft. You guys should have been able to put at least another B and a D tier on there, or have a really good role player, or some other type of versatility instead of just using these picks as subpar options for some of your other modes. Um, we just felt that you guys could have done a lot more with these last 40 points overall. Whether that be grab a B tier, grab another redirector. I just think in general you guys could have spent these 40 points more, because the first 8 are honestly, just in my opinion, so good. You guys budgeted so well that those last 2 picks should really be like the cherry on top, and just kind of be like, cool, look it, we got these 2 as well, bam bam. And instead I feel that those picks were a little bit wasted, in particular. But we'll see. I like the Armaldo pick a decent amount. It has a base 45 speed stat, base 125 attack stat, okay bulk. But so we'll see if it can do anything for you. The Explode leaves me a little bit confused, so I'm not gonna lie. For I guess that's it for the report card section. I guess we'll jump right into these questions
Yep.
here. We don't really have too much time, as Matt said. We're up against the clock. The first question will be basically a harken back to my last con there. These C tier picks. Can you go ahead and explain to us the reasoning behind these picks?
Yeah. So you're looking at C tier months. There's not a lot of good stuff in there. If I'll being honest, maybe like you guys said, an extra redirector would have been helpful there. Maybe like a boom. We
Yeah, I
there's
get
nothing
it.
like like there's nothing that comes to mind like as it is, but like as we go out throughout the weeks, we can possibly find like game plans for like maybe Armaldo. I know Armaldo could do pretty well in Trick Room. I know has like some setup options for it. Explode, it's a cute little attacker there. You could give like a specs, for boom burst stuff and something like that.
Mm-hmm.
But I I do think there's potential, at least for Armaldo. Explode, there could be some potential there, but
Yeah, definitely. I like the
we'll
Armaldo
have to
pick.
see.
Okay, so one more. Next question was, you guys chose Arcanine as your second pick. We saw some other fire types that we really liked at that spot, particularly, and obviously this is probably biased from our end. We really like the Volcarona, but also the Alolan Marowak we thought could have been pretty decent, and the Torkoal as well. What was your guys' reasoning for grabbing the Arcanine there? Obviously, a very solid Pokemon, but just wanted to hear you guys' thought process behind it.
Yes. So and it was a. I'm gonna be honest. It was between Arcanine or Volcarona, and we didn't want to copy you guys from last season.
It was gonna look like a little bit like we try to copy your guys' draft. So, um, I think I don't think Volcarona was maybe the primary focus, but if it was an option that was available later on, we probably would have gone for it. Um, and it probably would have changed our draft, because then we would have to be looking at other A tiers, I think. So it's something we're going to look as the season progresses to see how we can improve the team, and then maybe even switch around some of the C tiers, or see how we can rearrange it.
Yeah, I think the Arcanine still is a decent pick. We were just kind of curious on it, honestly, and it's still one of the things that we noticed was fire types in general were at a premium. So you guys grabbed one of the better ones. We really can't fault you too much for that. Um, the next one is what was your guys' reasoning for not getting a second redirector? Did you guys feel that the other roles were too important? What was the main reason?
Um, the second redirector, I think we were thinking about getting one. As a matter of fact, one of the ones that I also had on my mind was the Clefable, basically for its ability as well.
Hmm.
Um, so I think if that were available, that's something that we could have also possibly taken. Looking at it now, I think we might be looking at trying to get another redirector and then see if there see what our options are in that department, so we can not have to rely on the Blastoise all the time for setup.
Yeah, I think I can kind of understand that, honestly. Um, Real quick, and you guys don't have to go super in depth on this one, because obviously you guys are gonna have to play the rest of the season. What was your guys's? What do you think your guys' plan is going to be for faster teams? We noticed that the Mimikyu is the fastest thing that you guys have naturally. Do you guys think that your reliability for Trick Room is going to help you guys out there, or do you guys have plans outside of that?
Think we have plans outside of that. I think it's something we're going to also look into. Um, I know we can. There's a couple things I think we're thinking about trying to go both ways. So if we see any deficiencies on either side, which I think at this point would be the the faster side, I think we might have to look at rearranging our draft to make it so that we can kind of keep everything balanced as far as speed control.
That's definitely fair. Okay, so that kind of handles the more specific questions from our end. We'll wrap this up real quick. Just some three questions that we're asking all the teams here. First one, Hector, you go ahead and answer this one. Alan can go second. What's a Pokemon that you guys drafted that you guys are excited to use? Sorry, Hector. One more time.
No problem. Yeah, I was gonna relook at it. I think an interesting one. It's gonna be the Mandibuzz mainly because that was a Brian pick, so I'm really interested to see what what he has planned for that. Blastoise was also would be probably my second choice as far as far as a favorite, but I think mainly it would be the Mandibuzz or any of the Brian picks, basically.
And Alan, how about you?
Um, gotta be honest, I really liking Blastoise here and Mimikyu. Um, I feel like the bonds that we have, you see like a fair amount of like VGC use, or at least at one point they all kind of saw like a fair amount of use.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not like we're playing with like new toys or anything.
Mm-hmm.
So like playing with like Blastoise here, it's something new. It's not really like I never saw like that much use in VGC. So I feel especially in like a draft format where it has access to follow me and all these like cool moves. So it'll be fun to play with that. I like the Mimikyu too. It's just a pretty cool mon. Had some Brian influence there, so uh, it'll be interesting to see what we can do with that as well. I know that I have some like tricks planned as well. With Brian on the team, we can come up with just as like about twice as much things.
Yeah, definitely. I definitely agree with that.
Speaking of Brian, I just wanted to ask. I know you guys have mentioned that the Mandibuzz, Mimikyu, and Rotom were picks that he had a lot of influence on. Where else was did he have influence on this draft? What were there some other picks here that were mostly his idea?
I think three of his were. Let me see this. Uh, Mimikyu and the Slowking were all Brian influence. The Mandibas actually, as a matter of fact. So I think he probably had a say in about four that those picks were, I think, close to him.
Mm,
Mimikyu, especially for him and the Mandibas, because I think
yeah.
he holds those close to heart. As I've played against him in locals, and he's the times that I've played against him, he brought Mimikyu, and then I think at some point he. So I'm really interesting to see what he has planned for that, and then with everyone together, hopefully we can come up with something to put up some great battles.
Nice, good to know. Got two more questions real quick
Yeah,
for you
real quick.
guys.
Just answer these real
Yeah.
quick if you guys can. Hector,
problem.
what's an underrated member of your team that maybe the league is sleeping on a little bit?
I'm gonna say it's definitely Brian.
Brian.
Definitely Brian.
What about you, Alan? What Pokemon or underrated member of your team might be underestimated a little bit in the league?
I'm just gonna wait. I'm just gonna say X Cloud Dog. I'm gonna prove you suckers wrong.
All right. We like hearing that too, honestly. And then last one, what are you guys' expectations this season? The expectations for
I
this
think
year.
playoff expectations for this season,
Hmm.
definitely playoffs, and then hopefully a deep run in the finals.
Nice.
But I think we have to take it week by week. So I think it's definitely something we're gonna have to work to and learn how to adjust as we go.
Definitely. How about you, Alan?
What expectation that I have? Well, I mean, I'd like to make playoffs. That'd be pretty cool. Um, but there is something that I'm actually pretty content with. Um, and that's actually if we get the chance to kick your guys' asses this season.
Week 2.
Week 2. That's right. Mark it
Yeah, so we
here.
have a date, week
Act-
2.
Actually, I'm kind of glad that we got matched up in the earlier part of the season versus the end. Um, so I'm really gonna look forward to that because I feel like it's something we get it out of the way and then we kind of proceed with the rest of the season. But last season, I think we waited a little too long to
Yeah.
get to that. So I think that was a matchup that excited me the most was
Yeah,
to play you guys and
I agree. It happened a little bit
Yo,
too
Loki,
late.
I want to add to that because I did feel the same. Like I felt like we got like a little like burnt out from like the
Hmm.
league. By the time that it got to our match, and so we are just like, oh, all right, let's. What time you guys want to play? Let's get it
Yeah, it's still
into, you
fresh
know.
now. It's still fresh. So it definitely is going to be exciting. I can't wait for that. It's always great playing against you guys.
Hey, who knows, man? We might bring Xplat and kick your guys' ass.
Oh, I
I hope
I think
swear to
so.
something
God.
else to add to what Alan said also. I think last season, towards the later end of the season, we were in a position if we ended up good that we could have made playoffs, and we had to rely on our last games, which your guys' team was one of the ones that we needed to beat to try to make sure that we at least try to just push ourselves over the finish line to get into playoffs. So that put a little bit of more pressure on us. I think by then by the time we played, you guys were already qualified. So I think it kind of pushed us to try to do a little bit better to try to get us into playoffs. Not the situation we want to end up in this season.
Hmm.
So we're gonna try to rack up those wins early in the season so that that we can continue the pressure and then hopefully not have to rely on having to win our last few games towards the end.
Yeah, I was, not trying to say nothing on you guys. I was really surprised at your guys' performance last season. I think it might have had to do more with the team than anything. But I don't think people in this league really understand the force that you guys are. And I think adding Brian is really going to just make you guys better. But yeah, I think like you guys have the potential to be like Ben and Vichy in the sense where like people just sleep on you and lose to you on a week to week basis. Uh, because you guys just kind of have that ability in general. So we're definitely excited to see what you guys can do. Any last thoughts from you guys?
No, I mean,
Um,
I'm looking forward to playing all the teams, not just you guys. So I'm hoping we can have fun again this season, and we definitely had fun the times that we've played. So really looking forward to the start of the season.
let's see. For me, we need to run back the set against the Potatoes. And there's some other teams on there that I'm looking forward to face. Doesn't click in particular. That's gonna be pretty fun. I was really glad that we got paired for that final week.
Oh, cool,
But
nice.
lots of games out there, man, and lots of games, and we're gonna hopefully, if all goes well, we'll be drilling some cheeks this season.
Nice. Sounds good, guys. All right, Matt, anything from you? I think we're done, huh?
No, I think we're good. Yeah. Thanks for coming on, guys.
Yeah, thanks again. We appreciate it.
Thanks for having us, man.
For sure. And yeah, good luck this season.
Yeah.
Not in week 2.
Just not in week 2, but good luck for the rest of it.
All right, peace
Take
out.
care.
Bad luck
Love
for
you.
you guys in week 2.
Max.
Take care, guys.